What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. We are finally back with another episode of Sip with the Spinellis.
Finally.
It has been a while.
We filmed our last one like forever ago.
Yeah, so we always come on here and we're like, yeah, we're gonna start pumping these out.
Yeah.
But guys, our life has been crazy the last year. It's been crazy.
Yeah.
You guys will find out more as time goes on, but especially the last couple of months, our life has just been crazy. So we just haven't had time to put these out. But we wanted to make another one because we have had some people reaching out, be like, when is Sip with the Spinellis coming back? Come back today. Even though we're not really sipping on anything today, we already finished.
And then we finished our drink.
Yeah.
But we had a Java chip frappuccino from Starbucks and it was so good. I haven't had a frappe, I'm
So
pretty
long.
sure since like high school.
I don't even know why we got it today.
So,
we're just like, let's split a
It just
frap.
sounded good. It's kind of like a little milkshake and it sounded yummy.
Not fully sipping with the Spinellis today, so it's just kind of with the Spinellis, but
yeah. I'm gonna drink what's left in here though. So.
But today's episode of Sip of the Spinellis, we kind of wanted to like break it up. Last time we did more of like a personal, like you guys asked us questions, and then this time we kind of asked you guys a question and gave a prompt. And today's prompt is worst airline stories. I feel like everyone has a bad airport story. It's like,
yeah. If you fly,
if you've flown once, you have one bad airline story. Like that's just like how flying goes. I don't really like flying. I actually hate flying. I hate airports.
Yeah.
You like it a little bit more than I do, but
I don't like love it, but if you're going somewhere fun, it's kind of fun.
So we asked you guys your craziest or like worst airline stories. So we figured, to be fair, we would share ours. Honestly, I've had so many bad airport stories, but one happened to us this last Christmas together that just blew it all out of the water. So I'll kind of just go through it, and then if you want to throw in any facts in there, just go for it.
I have a horrible time remembering
Yeah,
stuff,
I'm just gonna fire through it. It's kind of a long story. We were going to Christmas. Scratch that. We were going to Oregon for Christmas. That's where I'm from, and so we had bought these flights back in the summer, forever ago, and the plan was to take Maple with us, just because we hadn't actually been with her on any major holiday. Not that a dog actually knows what a major holiday is, but we thought
always traveling.
We'll take her on Christmas. So we had done the research and we had found like how big of a crate or carrier we needed, how like the dimensions fit, like if we'd be able to bring her. We bought Delta tickets with all of the money or all the points that we'd built up from the credit card use for our wedding. So this was like a ton of points. Like it cost a lot to fly from Florida to Oregon, so we were really excited to go. I had Maple cleared multiple times with Delta. I talked to them on the phone, just again, this is our situation, this is our dog, this is her breed, this is how big she weighs, this is like how big her crate is, we're good, right? Yes, everything good. So we drive to Orlando, and oh, by the way, she's pregnant.
Yeah, but no one knows yet.
No one knows, and obviously
literally no one knows.
It was when we bought the flight, we didn't know that she was gonna be pregnant.
Yeah.
So newly pregnant, still kind of trying to like digest it all.
Yeah.
We weren't obviously in the best headspace probably at that time.
Well, and like neither of our parents knew, and so it was hard. Like I don't even know. Like yes, the airport story was horrible, but they didn't even know like what we were going through because I was like, no, I'm pregnant.
It was a very exciting but also very scary and like unsettling time.
Yeah.
So anyway, we drive 2 hours to Orlando. We park in the economy lot. If you ever park in Orlando economy, it's a parking lot far away. You gotta park, then you gotta take your stuff to a bus, and the bus drives you to the airport. So we do that. They drop us off in the wrong location. Then we gotta walk really far to the Delta gate. I just remember that just now.
Yeah.
We waited in line at the Delta gate probably for like 30-40 minutes. We got there like 3.5 hours early because we just want to make sure no trouble.
Yeah.
The person in front of us has their dog. They get on the plane easy. We're like, oh, these people it's just easy peasy. And then we get this guy and it starts going smoothly, and he goes, all right, let me see your dog carrier.
This is after we've already like given our IDs, like checked her in, everything, and then the very last thing, he's like, okay, let me see her.
So I put her up there. She was already in the carrier, and he goes, nope, not gonna work.
He looks at her for 1/10 of a second.
And basically what he was trying to say is that she was too big, which all the logistics said is that she has to be able to turn around, which she could, but he was making up rules saying basically she has to be able to stand up in her carrier, which is like not true at all. That's not anywhere in the guidelines. The only dog that could stand up in a dog carrier would be like a literally a 5-pound dog. And she fit in there, she could turn around, like it was not going to be a big deal. And so we basically argued with the guy for like 10 minutes, called management over. We were like, look, we're going home for Christmas, like you're basically sending us away for Christmas, like she's pregnant, like we're trying to tell.
Yeah, he was like, she's pregnant.
I'm like, she's literally pregnant.
Tell our family.
And Cass is starting to like get freak out, and like so she started to kind of like break down, and she was like, you don't understand, like you have to let us on.
I literally looked at the guy and said, you're joking us, right? And he was like, He was so mean.
He was so rude, so like not helpful at all.
He wasn't even like, I'm so sorry, like she just can't get on.
No, he like,
he was so
he didn't
rude.
even take time to like look at her or like look at the carrier or like let us show that she can turn around. And like we care about Maple, like we would not put her in a place that we had trained her to be in the carrier, to do all this. We had prepared for this time. Basically, long story short, they couldn't even refund us our points because points have to go through something else. So they literally just refunded us what we paid for bags. And like what I think one flight on the way back had to be, because then we're like, well, we have to cancel our flights back, because basically the guy was like, well, you can go drop your dog off at family and then make it back to the airport. We're like, dude, you don't understand, we're 2 hours away from where we live, we don't know anyone that could watch her.
Family here, this whole point, we're going home to see family for Christmas. Like,
he was very not understanding of the situation. And so he basically was like, well, you're not allowed on the plane, so I either give you a discount for the bags you've already paid for, or like you can leave. We start walking away trying to digest what's just happening. Like, we're not going home for Christmas, like we're gonna miss Christmas with family.
We're just sitting in these like chairs. What do we do?
Like our whole plan for the last 6 months is gone.
And we had already like done our Christmas here, so it wasn't even though on Christmas morning we can still open presents from each other.
And again,
like,
she's pregnant, and our plan was to
because we thought we were gonna be gone.
Tell my mom and dad and brothers and sister, everything. So anyway, we take the shuttle back to the Orlando airport. Like, we're both kind of just like really upset, and
back to our car.
Yeah. And then we called my mom. She was very upset. She was crying. Cass was crying. It was just not a good scene. And then we start to drive away, and Cass was like,
to that gas station because you were like, I want a water for the ride home.
Yeah, so we pulled in a gas station, and then Cass was like looking up flights on Southwest, and so
because this is what happened. We forgot this. Before we left the airport, Southwest was right next to Delta, and I was like, let's go ask them if they would let her on.
And they were like, yeah,
of
course.
And they were like, yeah, she can come on. But we didn't have a flight with Southwest. We just wanted to ask if she'd be able. So then when we left, we're at the gas station. I'm like, let me just see if Southwest has any flights.
And then they were very expensive, and then I was like, no,
and they were one ways.
And they were one ways, and so I was like, no, we can't do that. Like, we literally didn't have the money to fly to Oregon, like set aside.
Flights like from Florida to Oregon are just
like
so
literally
crazy
thousands of dollars. It's actually crazy.
Like $1,000 flight. It's crazy.
And so then we were probably about 20 minutes outside the airport, just no talk. And Cass is like, 2 seats just popped up. They're one ways. They were like discounted basically because they were last 2 seats on the plane. The flight leaves in like an hour and a half. Do you want to do this?
I just like kept refreshing the Southwest, and then this just popped up.
I was like, screw it, let's do it. So I flipped the Yui. I sped to the airport, parked in the economy lot again, and took the bus to the airport. And then if you've ever been to Orlando airport, it's a mess. Like, the security's a mess. So we got through Southwest fine, but then we had to wait in line for security. We don't even know if we're gonna make this flight. We get in, and our flight was delayed 3 hours. So we had like nothing to worry about.
Oh, we're fine with time.
So we had Maple with us, and she refuses to use the dog bathroom. I brought her in there probably 4 or 5 times during those 3 hours, and she would not go to the bathroom in the Orlando airport.
Now she's getting on the plane. She's able to get on the plane, but she hasn't gone to the bathroom in like 8 hours.
A long time. Like, she hadn't gone to the bathroom in a long time because she wouldn't go like in the airport parking lot either. Like, it was bad.
She's so weird about where she goes to the bathroom.
So we finally get on the Orlando flight. Orlando is gonna Orlando to Denver to Portland, where my dad is gonna pick me up, which is 3 hours away from where we live. So we are flying to Denver, and Maple's fine the first hour or so, and then she starts to just kind of like whine a little bit, and I felt really bad, and so I was kind of like petting her like in the carrier under the seat. Mind you, we were not sitting together.
Yeah, our seats aren't together.
Our seats aren't together.
You had a middle seat, right?
Yeah.
And I was in the window, so I couldn't just like easily see him, like where you were. And the guy sitting next to you was allergic to dogs.
Allergic to dogs. Maple, with my little like put in my hand in the bag, she jumped out of the carrier onto my lap in like 2 seconds, and I didn't even know how it happened. It was very hard to get her to go in there to begin with, just because she didn't want to. So now I have my dog in the pitch dark sitting on my lap going crazy. Everyone else is like, oh, puppy, puppy, like they're all excited.
Everyone thinks Maple's so cute. The guy next to you is like, I'm allergic to dogs. Like,
I do not do good in those situations. I like had an absolute panic attack, and then immediately the airline people came over. They're like, your dog needs to go away. I'm like, I'm trying. So I literally like literally pick Maple up. Cass is back there, has no idea what's going on.
You're like 5 rows in front of me. I saw you stand up, and you were like, I need help, and I'm like, what am I supposed to do? Like, I'm in the window
I'm
seat,
already sick to my stomach after everything that had happened today. Like, even thinking about it right now, just like I'm so sick thinking about it. We get into the alleyway, and I have 10 people shining their flashlights for me so I can get Maple to go in there. I finally get Maple to go in there, and everyone just kind of looks at me, and I'm just like, I'm so sorry. So we get in there, and she's fine. And we're probably 30 minutes away from Denver, and announcement goes overboard. We are no longer going to Denver. All flights going into Denver have been canceled because of ice. We are having to go to Dallas. Basically canceling anyone's flight who was going to be connected from Dallas or Denver to somewhere else. We're going to Dallas, and everyone's screwed. So
that, we're literally almost to Denver, so now they have to turn around.
So then we turn around and go to Dallas. And for some reason, they say that the plane can't land when we get to Dallas because we were too heavy.
Oh my gosh.
So for 45 minutes, we circled the Dallas airport. Finally land in Dallas, probably like 1 a.m.
Yeah.
And have Maple. Obviously, we take her straight to the bathroom there, the dog bathroom. She won't use it, but she's freaking out because she has to go to the bathroom, but she refuses to use it. Like, I don't understand why she couldn't do it. So that was bad. And then we went to the ticket line, had to wait in line, and basically they were like, well, there's a 6 o'clock flight the next day, like nighttime, to Portland, where we were supposed to go, or there's a 6 a.m. flight to Oakland, which will connect you to Eugene, Oregon, which is another city in Oregon, also 3 hours away from my home.
Yeah.
So that would get there us a lot earlier, and we're like, let's just do that. So we got on a 6 a.m. flight there, and so we spent the night in the Dallas Love airport. Maple wouldn't go to the bathroom.
She wouldn't sleep.
She wouldn't sleep. She thought she had to protect us, so we're like laying on the floor, and anyone who like walked by, she was growling at, like she's
like growling at the cleaning,
which is not normally how she is, but she thought she like had to protect us, and it was
so
the longest night of my life. Like, we were just deathly sick at this point, so much anxieties. Then the next morning, she started to use the bathroom in the airport, and so I picked her up and I like ran her into like the bathroom. She finally used it. Then I had to go clean up her mess, and we get on the flight fine. We go to Oakland, that's fine. We go to Eugene, that's fine. So everything's fine at that point, except our bags are not there. So literally all we had were our backpacks and Maple. And our bags were nowhere to be found. We were the last people waiting for all of our bags. They never showed up. I went to the desk, and the guy goes, well, one of them's still in Orlando. Somehow still in Orlando, and the other one is heading to Portland, and we were in Eugene.
It was in like San Jose or something, heading to Portland. I
was like, well, here's my address back at home. This is all your guys' fault. You can send it there. Thank you very much. He was basically like, nope, you guys decided to fly into Eugene instead of Portland. You'll have to come get them. It was
our fault that we flew into the wrong airport.
And I was like, dude, one of my bags is still in Florida.
Yeah.
How is that even my fault? Even if the Eugene, I was like, you're the one whose flight got messed up. Either way. So they agreed that they were going to ship our bags once they both got to Portland. They weren't going to drive them to where we lived, but they were going to ship them. Oh, by the way, this whole travel day on our first wedding anniversary.
Yeah.
Our first wedding anniversary, all that was happening.
When we booked the flights, I was like, I don't want to be traveling on our anniversary, but just like changing it a day later
was a couple $100.
Yeah, so then that's why.
So that all happened on our first wedding anniversary, all that craziness. So then my dad picks us up, we drive through the snowy, icy mountains, we go back to where we live, and we have just the clothes on our back. So I'm borrowing from my dad,
like 3 days.
She's borrowing from my sister, like we're literally living in other people's clothes.
I just hate wearing other people's clothes. Just me personally, I just like my own.
So they gave us a tracking code for our stuff, and this by this day it's the 24th, and we have nothing. And I'm looking at the tracking code, nothing. And by this time, this is when all the Southwest stuff was going down. Every flight was getting delayed, so to get a hold of Southwest was nearly impossible. I finally got a hold of them. Our bags were still in Portland. They'd never been shipped out. They probably wouldn't be shipped out till 4 or 5 days from then. And those had our Christmas presents for my family. That had what we were going to tell our family that we were pregnant, all that stuff. So basically Christmas Eve, right before we leave for the church service, I told my family, I was like, I'm driving to Portland right now. Cass, let's go. Like, we need our bags. Like, at that point, I couldn't do it. So we drove through the icy mountains to Portland in the night.
Horrible.
Very scary. Our bags were there. We grabbed our bags, which they didn't give us any money for. They didn't give us any like gas money, no credit, no nothing. And every person in front of our line, they were like, we'd like this credit, they gave it to them. We'd like this credit, they gave it to them. I'm like, I'd like this credit. They're like, well, you changed your flight. And I'm like, at this point, I was like, just give me my bag. Got our bag. Actually, something really sketchy happened on the way home. I didn't even tell my mom, so hopefully mom's not listening to this. We actually hit like a,
just for sure,
like a thing of ice on the way home in the driving over the mountains, and it was bad. It was very sketchy. We were like doing this on a mountain road. Like there was almost no more Johnny and Cass. Like let's just say that. Like it was like, thank the Lord that he was with us. We make it home that night. We tell my parents everything, like that we're having a kid, everything's good again. We stayed there longer than we were going to because we didn't have a flight home this time, and we decided that instead of doing the whole flight process again, we were gonna rent a car and drive from Oregon back to Florida. So that's what we did. Like, that's how bad the flight was, that we drove from Oregon to Florida in the winter. This was like probably a few days after, what, January 1st?
Yeah.
We rented a Toyota Camry from the airport. We loaded up our stuff, and then we drove to Salt Lake City, and we stopped in a crappy Motel 8 on the side of the highway.
Only certain like hotels
except
will
dogs.
let Maple be there. Yeah, it was a huge thing.
We were on a very tight budget. We couldn't afford to be paying $200 pet fees for a hotel, so Motel 8 it was, and boy was it sketchy. We got out of there as soon as we could. We didn't sleep at all. Maple didn't sleep at all. People were yelling in the hallways. I stepped in dog crap outside and dragged it into the hotel room, not even knowing. It was a mess of a night. Then the next day we drove to Albuquerque, I believe, New Mexico. Stayed at another like Super 8. That was terrible. Get to Dallas. That was fine. We stayed with her friend. We stayed there an extra day, and then we ended up finally finishing the drive. The last day was like 16-hour drive, and then we made it to Orlando at like 1 a.m. Got our car, drove home, made it here at like 3 a.m. and that was the end of the like biggest airport disaster ever.
And now I will like never be traveling over the holidays again.
No, we told both of our families, we're not leaving for Thanksgiving, we're not leaving for Christmas. You guys are more than welcome to come here at our house, but with all that happened last year and now that we're having a baby, like, we are not leaving for holidays this year. We're not flying during holidays. We're gonna be right here in Florida.
So it's kind of like horrible airport story / travel, because the last part was like driving.
Even talking about
but it was horrible.
Makes me sick. That was
like honestly, and it was like one of the worst times of my life. Like mentally, there was just so much going on.
So much going on, and so and then you feel for her because she was pregnant. You feel for Maple because she has no idea what's going on. She was like, "Why am I in this airport? Why am I going in the like carrier? Why am I in these Motel 8s?
What are these freaking bathrooms?"
It was
horrible.
We'll never fly with her again.
With
so
Maple.
Ever.
So that's our horrible story. I feel like I have so many horrible airport stories, but that's like definitely the worst one.
And I'm sure there was more that went into that story. We just tried to condense it, even though it was already a pretty long story. But
a very long story.
Oh man, I'll never get over that.
Let's get into your guys' horrible airport stories.
Yeah, let's see if you guys can top ours. All right, first response says, 2 years ago, my boyfriend and now husband, congratulations, you guys made it, was doing an internship in Fort Worth, Texas. I had never flown alone, and this was my second time flying alone to come down and see him that summer. This guy sat next to me, and he seemed a little off. He then proceeded to ask me why I was stalking him. I laughed it off, thinking maybe he was trying to be funny. He then proceeded for the next 10 minutes telling me to stop laughing and that I'm stalking him. He then told me I was in it with the people on the front of the plane, pointing to the front. My legs were shaking, and he kept saying the F word, looking around, getting frantic, that this is a full flight. Not knowing what to say, I told him I was sorry. He felt uncomfortable and asked if he'd be more comfortable if I moved away. He then said, yes, yes, go tell the leaders right now. I raised my hand and simply asked if I could please move my seat, and the flight attendant immediately says, no, we are on a full flight. I looked at her and said, please. Long story short, she moved me, and then he told her I was the problem, and she threatened to kick him off the plane. I ran off that plane as soon as I got into DFW. Felt bad for the guy, but was so scared. There's nothing worse than a bad like plane partner. Like that's like the one thing getting on a plane, you're like, please let the person be just normal and don't talk to me. Yeah. Like, please don't talk to me.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, I don't want to talk.
I've had super nice people, but they will not stop wanting to talk and like ask questions or like show me stuff. If a natural conversation organically starts, that's fine. I'm not like anti, but like there's bad.
I was so freaked out. I'm like always so sketched about people in airports anyways.
Yeah, that's why it sucks when we get on an airplane and we're not sitting next to each other, because it's like there could have all types. You could have someone stinky, you could have someone loud, you could kind of have someone kind of big and kind of takes up your spot, or even like the twitcher. You ever have this
behind you like kicking you?
Oh, that was the last flight. The kid would not stop kicking.
My hair was in like a top knot bun, and this kid kept grabbing my bun on top of my head.
People on the planes are crazy. You can't tell people you can't get on the plane if you don't want to deal with people. Fly private. You know what I'm saying? So it's like everyone's public. Or everyone like has the right to be on an airplane. So it's like you can't really do anything. I feel bad because it was like her second time flying. Yeah. And she had to fly into DFW, which is like the worst airport.
Yeah, so. It's a pretty bad airport.
But I'm glad you survived and no more long distance flying. Yeah. That's the worst. Long distance flying, we know that story. That flight home after leaving them, those are some sad flights. I've had some sad boy hours on the airplane, that's for sure.
We were coming back from Cancun and got stuck on a tiny airplane for 3 hours because Customs were backed up. However, the pilot left the plane and locked the cockpit, and we didn't have AC at a Florida airport. People were sweating, getting faint. We missed our connecting flight and had to spend the night in the airport while my sister and I got the stomach flu and were throwing up the whole night. Not to mention, there was a shooting at the airport a week prior, and the carpet still smelled like carpet cleaner. We finally caught our last flight, but still had the stomach flu the whole way home. That's so sad.
I'd probably never fly again after that. First, how does a pilot leave the cockpit? How is that legal?
I don't know.
Second, I've spent probably 4 or 5 times I've had to spend the night in the airport. There's nothing worse.
No.
There's nothing worse than sleeping in an airport.
When we just went to Tampa airport that one, like the other morning, there were people sleeping there, and I was like, I know what you're going through.
There's nothing worse than sleeping in an airport because there's nowhere comfortable to sleep.
Like there's no privacy.
Yeah.
Like people, you're just like laying there and
it's
people
just
are like walking by
uncomfortable.
you, and
so it's uncomfortable. Plus the carpet cleaning smell. People were throwing up. They were throwing up.
Oh, and there was a shooting there. I would be terrified that there would be like another.
That's a terrible airport story.
No,
like that
sucks.
is absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
All right, this person said they have 2 stories, and it looks like both of them are pretty good, so I'm gonna read both of them. My husband and I were flying home from our honeymoon last August, and we had to fly from Greece into Canada and then into Ohio. Unfortunately, when we landed in Canada on our way home, the international flights all land, and you have to go through this place in the airport where you have to wait until you see that your plane and baggage has made it. Well, our bags never made it. We found that out after waiting in this big room for over 3 hours. Since we never saw that our bags made it, we missed our connecting flight back to Ohio. We had to go to baggage claim and see what was happening with our bags and reschedule another flight home. Apparently, our bags never left Greece, and the next flight to Ohio was late the next day. My husband and I slept on the hard floor at the airport with literally nothing, got back to Ohio, and our baggage had to be delivered to our home because of it never coming home with us. Was a stressful trip back from our honeymoon for sure.
That kind of reminds me of our trip back from our honeymoon. It was not that bad, but they lost my bag.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, and like it was my checked bag. I had all my skincare, all my makeup, all my clothes, everything back from our honeymoon.
Here's the thing too that sucks about this story. I always say you're either happy, like why airports suck is half the time you're upset. You either are going someplace cool and so you're excited to go there, but then the flip side is you have to come back to real life and that sucks. Or you're going like on a business trip that you don't want to go, so the first time you're going there is bad. So they probably just like were not feeling like we just had a honeymoon, life wasn't like real out really there, have to come back to home, real life, and boom.
And this happened.
Lost the bags, sleep on the airport.
They're sleeping in the airport.
That's a terrible story. And after a honeymoon, it's like high to just absolute low. You're like,
to being like so mad.
Yep, this is real life. My husband and I, along with some friends, so this is the same people, flew to New York and had one connecting flight from Ohio to New York. When we landed in New York, all of our friends got their luggage and we were the only 2 that didn't get their bags. We were only in New York for like 3 total days, and they said our bags wouldn't be delivered to our Airbnb until like the last day of the trip. My husband and I basically had to go shopping for everything we possibly needed for our trip since all of it was in our checked bag. Also keep in mind this was during winter and having nothing in New York was a crap show.
That's horrible.
That's horrible. For multiple reasons, I feel like New York is like a terrible place to not have luggage.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, there's plenty of stores to like go buy your stuff, so that's one good thing I guess. But New York is so frantic and so crazy.
You
it's
just
not like
want your stuff.
It's not like if you came into like a little airport or whatever, like a little town, you're like, oh, I'll just go drive to Walmart in our little rental car. It's like, no, New York is like move. That sucks. You would have to like go. That basically takes away from your trip.
Yeah.
Like you have to go shopping for all that.
It sounds like those people have really bad luck.
You guys should just start packing in carry-ons. I hate checking a bag. If I can't check a bag, like I make her carry on all the time. I'm like, we're not checking a bag.
But I love to check a bag because then I can take my full-size products.
It's not worth it. It's not worth it. They lose it half the time. And then it's so much nicer once you get off the airplane just to walk off the airplane and out of the airport. To have to sit there at baggage claim is one of the worst because you're just sitting, especially those late flights, you get back like 1 a.m. You're just sitting there just cowered over, like not even, especially if you have a long drive like back, like sometimes you have to fly into Orlando and we still have to drive 2 hours back, like just get me in the car, get me out of here. Hate airports. I don't want to sit at baggage claim. How do they keep losing bags at this point? Like we've been doing airplanes and flights long enough. Airlines got to figure this out. They lose bags. They lose bags way too much.
I'm just gonna say, Spirit Airlines has never lost one of my bags. And
no,
they
we have
get
pretty
so
good
much
experience.
crap, but it's whenever I lose a bag, it's Southwest or Delta, like some of the like top airlines.
The sucky thing about flights is that we have, like everyone in America has to fly,
Yeah.
So there's no really like way to hold these airlines accountable, but I wish there was, because they need to be held accountable because they're charging astronomical rates and they're sucking at their jobs. The whole Southwest thing this winter, I know like there was a reason for what happened. It shouldn't happen, but
like
no one holds these airlines responsible because everyone has to fly anyways.
Yeah.
And they can just charge what they want and put together crappy service. We gotta figure this out, guys.
My fiance and I were visiting his brother and his brother's wife in Cheyenne, Wyoming. Every time we visit them, we fly out of the Denver airport because it's usually the cheapest. After visiting with them for a few days, we were scheduled to fly back at 7 a.m. one morning. They drove us to the airport and we were getting out to unload our bags from the trunk. Because we were in the pickup / drop-off lane, other people were lined up to drop off family members too. I was standing behind the car and started to take my bag out of the trunk when I heard a bunch of yelling. Mind you, it's like 5 a.m. because we got there so early to go through security. So I'm tired and kind of zoning out when I hear all of this yelling. I turn around and see the truck behind me rolling towards me pretty quickly. We were on a downhill. The guy in the truck behind us had forgotten to put his car completely into park when he got out to say goodbye to his family. Thankfully, I turned around in time and was able to move out of the way, but the guy's truck did end up hitting our car. Everything was okay in the end, but it was still a crazy experience.
Bro, they didn't even make it to the airport. That just happened.
I know, outside the airport.
Dude,
what if she were still standing there and her like, she could get like paralyzed from it?
Yeah. First of all, bonehead decision by that guy. I feel like there's nothing worse than like an accident happening right before you go on a trip.
No.
Because you don't have the time to deal with it. Their car got ran into, but you don't have the time to deal with it because you're going on an airplane.
I always think about that. I'm like, what if you get in a car accident when like
it almost happened
you're
to us.
going somewhere?
Remember in Miami?
No.
Well, we were about to get on the cruise and we almost got in a car accident.
Oh, the cruise.
Yeah.
I thought you, yeah.
When we were going on the cruise a couple months ago, we were driving to Miami. We were literally like 15 minutes away from getting on the boat.
And this guy almost hits us.
Literally it doesn't make sense how he didn't hit us.
Yeah.
Like it was almost like the cars were like magical and went through each other. Like, imagine we would literally just got in a wreck right before a vacation. There's nothing you could do. Okay, this one says my mom got stopped by security. Oh, my mom and I got stopped by security and taken into this room where they were like dumping out all of our stuff, luggage, purses, etc. Both of us were crying because of course we didn't have anything dangerous, but it ended up being that my mom's perfume had spilled in her bag and it had the same ingredient that they used to make bombs.
No.
I feel like that's something that would happen to you.
Wait, how is there an ingredient in perfume that they use to
I don't know. I've never looked up how to make bombs. I don't know
the
how to make
crying
bombs.
part, if my bag ever gets pulled, I like immediately start almost crying.
And then that probably makes you look guilty.
Well,
it's like the last thing
like,
you should do.
they're gonna make me throw away something.
That's crazy. I've gotten patted down like just because like if I've worn a hoodie, but like never like pulled to the side about a bag. But like taken into the room, that's like a completely different thing. That's like serious. And I'm sure they're not nice to you in there because like this is serious. Like they need to protect the airport. They're probably overly like jerks about it just because they have to be serious.
Yeah.
And you spilled your perfume. That's
a bummer. That sucks.
How did they find out? Was it like a dog that like smelt it? How would a worker smell perfume and be like, that's a bomb? You know, they would just smell perfume.
Or just that like
maybe if it goes, maybe if it goes through the thing, it picks up a scent. That's
no, not even a scent. Like the X-ray thing, you can maybe see.
Well, that's not what it stopped though. I can't see ingredients.
I don't know.
It's an X-ray. You can't see ingredients.
I don't know.
You're crazy.
Leave me alone.
You're crazy. You can't see ingredients. I don't know. It might have like a sensor. It's for drugs or something that. My guess is it was a dog. I don't know, but my guess is it was a dog.
My friend was once on a flight when her bag had gone caught for drugs. That doesn't make sense.
I'm sure that she
gotten
caught for drugs.
Turns out she and this drug guy had the same bag. Luckily, she had ID in the bag, and to this day, I remember to put some form of ID in my suitcase. LOL.
That's crazy.
That's very unfortunate.
I love how she says this drug guy.
Yeah, for real.
This drug guy. Imagine, obviously you're innocent, you didn't do anything, and like your bag's going through, and they like take it, and they're like, great, like what I have shampoo, and they like pull out like a pound of weed, and you're like, that's not mine.
No, literally.
That's crazy. Do you pack a form of ID in your bags?
I don't know.
I don't think I do. I've never thought about that, but I'm like going to.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I do want to get like air tags to put in our luggage. Though.
Well, I don't think that would save you from the drugs.
No, I'm just saying like so that way if it ever gets lost, you can track it and stuff.
The drugs.
Yeah, no, that's not gonna help you for that.
You just.
Well, maybe though you could show like oh, there's an air tag in this one that's linked to my phone. Mm-hmm. That could count as like identity.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
Imagine trying to take drugs through an airport scanner. Like, what are you doing?
But what are you doing?
All right, this one's also pretty long. It says, my boyfriend and I had just moved into our house right on the border of Illinois, Wisconsin, but had a vacation to Florida planned with his family a few days after. So we both had a lot of stuff at our parents' houses, who now live 30 minutes from us. We had packed what we could for our early flight the morning before and planned to stay at my mom's so we could get the rest of our beach stuff, since we only had our winter clothes here, and she could take us to the airport and not worry about parking. Less than 12 hours before takeoff, our flight got canceled and we immediately searched any way we could get there. Everyone else drove and had left hours ago. Okay, so the rest of the family was driving, they were flying, flight was canceled. We searched 4 airports, almost all of them 2 hours away, and settled on a flight $300 more than the original one we had booked to get there on time, but we had to leave that second for the hour-and-a-half drive to Chicago. We hadn't packed all we needed, barely had time to park, we're both starving, and then our connection in Nashville gets delayed. This was a good thing until we got to Nashville and it was a snowstorm. I had not known my body was very strict with caffeine at this time, so I had a coffee in Chicago knowing it would be a late night. But when we got to Nashville, I felt so sick. While this flight was delayed even longer than the first, we finally boarded and then got stuck on the runway for 3 hours. There is nothing worse than being stuck on the runway.
No, that's the
I'm
worst.
passionate.
I would rather be stuck in the airport.
I'm passionate about getting stuck on the runway. It is the absolute worst thing in the world. I would rather go to jail. I'd rather be like, throw a fit and be like, take me to jail, get me off this plane, than being stuck on a tarmac. 3 hours?
The most I've ever been stuck on the thing is probably like close to an hour.
That's too long. That's crazy. 3 hours. My boyfriend and I in different rows.
Oh.
In between strangers. While I'm having a reaction to caffeine and I thought I was going to vomit. We did make it to Florida at 4 a.m. This day being our first anniversary and 3 days into 2022, thinking we wouldn't be able to get to a hotel. Thinking we wouldn't be able to get a hotel. I think they ended up getting one. But I'm glad to say we slept in a bed that night and spent our anniversary sleeping in until his family arrived. And no more caffeine has been consumed by me again.
Ever? Wow, that's crazy.
You're like, that's worse than the airport stay.
I'm like, wait, actually, let's talk about that.
Dude, getting stuck, either way, before or after your flight has landed, both sucks.
Yeah.
But like, you ever just like sitting there, you know, you get into like the mode when you get on an airplane, you're like, all right, I'm ready to go, locked and loaded, you kind of just like turn your brain off.
You're prepared for the flight.
And then you sit there and you're like, we haven't taken off yet. It's felt like 30 minutes since you've like been on this airplane.
You're like, have we even started backing up?
And then you just look and you're still like attached to the thing.
Yeah.
And then it pulls out and then you're like, okay, we're good. And you kind of like go back to relax again. And then it feels like it's been a while and you're like, am I in the air? And then you look and you're still on the tarmac.
On the ground.
There's not a worse feeling because you're like, I've been on this airplane the whole time
and
we haven't made any progress.
I've already listened to a whole podcast.
I passionately hate being on airplanes. She hates this, I make us get on like last.
It kind of stresses me out because I'm like, the doors are going to close.
No, she wants to get on first.
No,
I want to get
first,
on last.
If they call our zone and then that.
Yeah, I don't get on.
And then the line is like halfway through, then I would go get in line.
I literally wait till there's like 10 people left in the line going through. Like, we're not going to be late because we're in line still, but I want to be the last person on the airplane. I hate being on airplanes.
Okay, this is the very last story. It says, arrived at Chicago O'Hare.
Yeah, that's an airport.
Oh.
I think there's 2 airports in Chicago.
Oh, okay. After an 8-hour flight from Rome, apparently the customs systems were down across the whole U.S., so we were standing in line on the same 2x2 tile for 4 hours. So many people missed their flights, but thank goodness my mom insisted on a 4.5-hour layover. We made it to the lounge 30 minutes before boarding.
Oh my god.
Such a long, exhausting trip home. I would have rather stayed in Italy, haha.
First 8-hour flight,
But standing there for 4 hours.
4 hours
and
after an 8-hour flight, I'd be like, screw my bags.
No, I'm so impatient.
I think if like, wait, did she say she lived in Chicago?
Yeah, I think so.
Were they waiting for their bags or were they waiting to
go through customs?
Oh, customs. Yeah, I guess you can't go through there.
Yeah.
If it was just like waiting for the bags, I'd have been like, I'll come back later.
I'll leave my bag. No, but through customs.
Oh, dude, that sucks. Especially,
That's
again,
what she
it's
said.
coming back from the
rather
trip.
just sit
You
in
can kind of
Italy.
have a better attitude sometimes,
When
maybe if you're going there, because you're like, as soon as this is over, vacation. You're coming back from vacation, you're coming back from Italy, you're coming back from Rome. That's depressing.
And then you're waiting
to Chicago. I've never been to Chicago, so I can't talk about Chicago. I've heard parts of Chicago are cool, but parts of it are.
I like it.
Even though
For a trip, yeah.
I want to go to
So
Wrigley
fun.
Field and see a game, so we'll go to Chicago one time. But
thank you guys so much for writing in your horrible, horrible airport stories.
Hopefully they'll be better.
Stories.
Even though they probably won't, because airports and airplanes suck.
All I'm gonna say is maybe fly Spirit, because I've never had any issues with Spirit. I'm sure people have, but I haven't.
Here's the thing: we've never checked a bag with Spirit, so
I'm pretty sure I have.
when? as long as we've been together, we've never checked a bag of Spirit because I guess it's expensive. That's why they
I
save.
think it was for like spring break trips or something.
Okay.
When I was in college, yeah.
Honestly, yeah. Like as
I'm
far
pretty
as
sure
that,
it was Spirit.
Spirit's always been a pretty solid airline for us.
Yeah.
Again, we always just carry on a backpack, but they've never like made us check. Frontier makes us check the size of that. So I feel like as far as budget airlines, Spirit is the way to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, guys, that is it for this video. Thanks again for watching. Sorry it took so long to make another Sip with the Spinellis video, but I'm not gonna make any promises that they'll be.
I know. I was gonna say
we'll make some.
We're
soon.
gonna make more out soon, but then I'm like.
But we're probably not.
We're probably not.
Like chances
we
are we will have.
But the next one will probably be like longer than we would hope. So.
But we have some exciting news that we can't share just yet, but it's coming up soon. So stay tuned. We'll probably be here in the next couple of videos. I'm guessing that news will come out. So just be on the lookout for that. Super exciting though. Super exciting time in our life. Super crazy time in our life, but we're excited. Thanks again for watching. Be
sure to like and subscribe and comment. Leave us a comment. We always want to know like what you guys want to see for the Sip video topics. Yeah. So let us know what you want to see. And we will see you guys in the next video.
Peace.
Bye.